Well, I think this is an interesting spot because I wonder if the Chargers are going to game plan extra hard for James Cook because of his big performance: 25 rushes, 179 yards, 42 receiving yards, a couple of touchdowns. So I'm wondering if that's going to open the door for Stephon Diggs. And I know that sounds weird because if he's wide receiver one, you're naturally going to be game planning for Diggs. But I'm kind of hoping that the Chargers say, oh, wow, they are really figuring out how to use James Cook. Let's try to figure out how to slow him down. And that's going to open the door for Diggs to go off for, like I said with Dan, 7, 8, 9, 10 catches, 150 yards, one or two touchdowns, and be that top dog that we know that he can be, because it's weird that he hasn't gone over 100 since week 6 against the Giants. So this could be a huge game for Allen and Diggs to rekindle that chemistry together. And it's not that they never lost it. I mean, Diggs has still been productive. He just hasn't been putting up those all pro type of numbers. So I'm kind of hoping that they try to game plan James Cook, because I'm confident now that even if they do, Brady's going to figure out how to counter that. And they're going to have different counter punches where James Cook can still be effective, and Ty Johnson for that matter. But ultimately, I think that this could be a big week for Stephon Diggs. And I'm going to throw Gabe Davis's name in there too, because again, I know that he has seen his production decrease. I have a graphic that I'm going to pull up. But I think that this could be a week we're talking about Michael Davis, and it's just such a weak secondary. The Chargers defense is 29th in total defense, 30th in passing defense. And I tweeted this out earlier this week. Gabe Davis has been held catchless in 4 out of the last 6 weeks. But looking at it from a glass half full perspective, in those 6 weeks, James Cook has 22 receptions for 241 yards and 3 touchdowns, on top of his 482 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. And like I said in the tweet, whatever it takes to win. So I think that the Bills are clicking on all cylinders right now, and they can attack these teams, specifically the Chargers, on Saturday night from multiple different angles. If I'm the Chargers, I'm not
Mhm.
sure how I want to attack the Bills, because what is exactly working right now? Because you have a backup quarterback in Easton Stick who is unproven. So you naturally say, well, let's just turn to Austin Eckler. But they have such a poor rushing attack by the numbers. They're not even averaging 100 rushing yards per game. That makes you say, well, maybe we should go back to Easton Stick. So then you look at it from the Bills' defensive perspective and say, well, how should we game plan? And I think that the best defensive game plan could turn into an offensive game plan. Because if you do what you're supposed to do on offense and you get up quickly, 14 to nothing on the Chargers, then they are going to be forced to have to throw the ball with Easton Stick. And that will take away Austin Eckler, Josh Kelly, and Isaiah Spiller. Because I feel like the Chargers would try to establish a line of scrimmage just to take some of that pressure off of Easton Stick. So I think that if the Bills can get up early, force Easton Stick to throw on you, and then here's the key thing that I'm not sure if we've talked about enough yet: get pressure. Because I think that the Chargers offensive line has been playing decent, but I think that they are suspect. And I think that you can get the pressure on. And I love the way Leonard Floyd has been playing. And, Von Miller, say what you want about Von, but I've been seeing positive strides from Von Miller these last couple of weeks. And I think that he is starting to come on. The brace is off, and I've been seeing a nice uptick, maybe not from a production standpoint, but you're seeing the pressure. And, just all the other guys, Greg Rousseau and Jordan Phillips, I know he's hurt, but Ed Oliver has been just an absolute dog. And it seems like whoever they've been putting in, they have been rising to the occasion. So I think that is the best defensive game plan. Just get pressure up front and continue to win on both sides of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of paths to victory, Kevin, in this game, and it's so hard to even pick one. Their DBs are so bad. Like, how do you not throw it? You're going to win on both lines of a scrimmage. Like, their D line's decent as far as bad as their back seven is. So maybe like that would go for throwing it. He mentioned the matchups with the linebackers, and they don't even really have corners. They just not like the Bills do. So it's going to be interesting on the defensive side. Like, Easton Stick should not be able to do anything. You need to keep him under 13 points. It's pretty simple. Like, maybe he has a scripted opening drive of the second half. This is a game where you can defer as take the ball as I am, and as great as it was to go up last week. And to me, like, I'm a take the ball kind of person. That's where I reside in these football games. Like, I want the ball. I want to be up in a football game, and it worked against it works against the teams where winning records. I don't really care what they do against these lower end teams. But when you get the ball first, I just think, and you can score, the odds are exponentially. Look at what Dallas had to press the rest of the game that from that Latavius Murray touchdown. So I think ultimately 12 play, 7-minute drive. Look, what kind of way to start a game than that? I want the ball. I want to be able to get it done. But ultimately against this team, like, you can kick it off in this game. I won't be too mad. Even though getting up early against Easton Stick could be the way to, because there's just really no path in that case too. So I like that's my, and then don't let their special teams look. He mentioned how good their special teams unit can be and could be a path to success there for the LA Chargers. And there's not going to be much of a crowd factor. The weather's going to be nice. There shouldn't be any external factors from crowd to snow to rain that gets in the way of this game, which is nice to see. And even though the Chargers are 20th in DVOA, I expect that to drop like a rock, because that's how much it's being held up by their offense with Kellen Moore, Keenan Allen, and Justin Herbert. Their special teams ranked second in the league, special teams. So Bills are 18th. They played a little bit better recently in special teams related play over the last couple of weeks. But there are those blunders that are still there. 18th is scary range, but that is advantage Chargers. So don't let that matter at all. You want there to be so many kickoffs. It doesn't really matter what Darius Davis does on his kickoff returns. But hey, we have to rely on other teams. We didn't sub right against Denver. We let Mac Jones drive the ball. We couldn't stop Joe Mixon. We couldn't get anything going in London. We couldn't stop a punt return in overtime against the Jets. So they're definitely, and then we couldn't stop a 59-yard field goal, and we couldn't hit a connect with Gabe Davis in overtime. Otherwise, Bills would be undefeated. Even taking the Denver game, Kevin, they would be in an extremely good situation. Just subbing right or standing there on defense, the Bills win, and they'd be in commanding position right now, even with just a 9-5 record. That would basically be it. They'd basically be in similar to win in scenarios, because now they have some tiebreakers, AFC record, a couple other things. It's as simple as that, not putting the right players on the field. But they've made it a long way since then. They kind of went through the gauntlet stretch of initially the Jets defense to the Eagles to into the Chiefs and into the Cowboys. And what was supposed to be a really tough game into the Chargers. The Bills, I guess you want to call it, catch a mini break, not having to play Herbert. They got lucky there. But they do have to play a coaching change and a scheme that you have really no idea what they're going to do. So final takeaways from Kevin as well. Myself, appreciate our show sponsors today, Sons of Erie, www.sonsoferie.com, as well as Tuscany Market and Deli. So check out all of their specials across what they have going on there in Fredonia. So we're happy to have them on board here for the holiday season. And Summit Center, some of the best adult and children autism and needs and care in all of Western New York. So they have a donation page. That means every dollar helps them drive another student and another program through their programs. Give us some final opinions as we wrap the show, Kevin. What do you have on your mind? Just win, baby. Give me something quick to leave our viewers with.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up the Jets and the Patriots and the Broncos again, because that segues perfectly into the last thing that I wanted to say tonight. Because as much as it pains me and the rest of Bills Mafia that we lost those games and just the way that we lost them, it also motivates me. And I think it motivates the team, because I'm trying to look at it from an optimistic standpoint and say, you know what? Maybe if we had 11 men on the field, Ken Dorsey would still be the offensive coordinator and James Cook would still be buried on the depth chart and he wouldn't be unleashed like he has been. Or maybe if we didn't allow that punt return touchdown against the Jets, maybe they would have dropped that game to Dallas or Kansas City, because they are not in tune. They're not as focused, because they know that their backs are against the wall. And like we've said repeatedly on this show, especially tonight, this team plays their best when their backs are against the wall. So as much as it sucks that we dropped those 3 just stupid games, let's try to look at it from that positive perspective and say, maybe that is the motivation that this team needs to be the driving force out of December and into January. because this team is peaking at the right time. And all the other teams, we've talked about it before, how Pittsburgh's cooling off. You've seen Kansas City drop off. I think Miami's due for a drop off. And you know what? The Bills are rising. And you also know what? If this team continues to rise, they're going to be one of the most dangerous teams in the playoffs. And that really, really excites me.
There you have it. From the Going Deep Buffalo podcast, Kevin Masseri, Kevin Syracuse. Just win some football games, 99.9% likely, and get a Dolphins loss. And this thing can turn in a hurry to seeing your team now in the 6th seed and with a chance to be as high as the 2 if a couple more games go their way.